Standard form. There we go. Standard form. So this x is being multiplied by x, and what is x times x? X squared. What about and then anything else with that x?
X times 6.
That x also needs to be distributed to the 6. So x times 6
6x.
plus 6x. I need to get some markers up here. Or stop letting students steal them. It was already there, I just. Okay, so negative 6 times x. Negative 6x. Negative 6 times 6. Negative 36. And this is going to matter for the next step here. Make a note to yourself. After distributing
Oh my gosh.
and before simplifying, how many terms are there? There are 4 terms. That's an important detail to notice. Specifically, notice how the x squared plus 6x came from distributing this x. Yes, Mr. Carey? Thanks, guys. Okay. The negative 6x minus 36, it came from distributing the minus 6. It's going to come up. Now, what would be my next step, though? Combine those like terms, add them together. 6x minus 6x is 0. So I get x squared. And I can write the plus 0x minus 36, or normally we just do x squared minus 36. Hey, is that what we started with? Wow. Wait, so does that agree with what we saw in the graph with the fact the roots and the x-intercepts?
Yes.
Everything in mathematics connects. You cannot separate those ideas out. They are connected. So this is the background to factoring. So when factoring, we're going from standard form and trying to get factored form. Any ideas how I can use this information to help me go to the factored form?
Separate.
So think about it. This was factored to standard. So how am I going to get from standard to factored? Aren't I just going to go backwards?
Yep.
Can't just magically take, to solve, yes, I can take square root. But guys, I want you to notice, right, a foundational piece to this is to go from factored to standard, we distributed.
Yes.
So we're going from standard back to factored. So we're just going to go backwards. That's it. It's undoing that distribution. So, how do I want to say this? Start with, what form is this again? Standard form. And in general, when we're solving an equation, we want to be equal to 0, but this is just the factoring side. Start with standard form. And so this is x squared minus 36. But I want the true standard form, because this will help, and this does matter in a second. So I'm going to write this one at least as x squared plus 0x minus 36. Notice literally it just went backwards. So what do I need now? Right, like I literally need this. But how in the world do we get there? That's really the next question. Notice we're going just backwards. Well, notice the 6x minus 6x is how we got 0x, right? Any ideas how maybe that 6 and that negative 6 connects to negative 36?
Multiplication.
6 times negative 6 is negative 36? Is that true? So you're telling me that 6 and negative 6 are, what's an F word that describes the things that are being multiplied? Oh, 6 and negative 6 are the factors of negative 36?
Yeah.
That's critical to what we're doing. Please make a note off here to the side. This is what in mathematics we call the AC method. Yep, the air conditioning. AC method with factoring by grouping. And it's called AC because I'm going to take A, multiply it by C, or 1 times negative 36. What are your questions at this point? Yeah, what does AC stand for? Remember, I just said A times C is 1 times negative 36. Any guesses? Oh, do we have an A and a C in the standard form?
Yes.
Yes? Yeah, we do, right? A x squared plus bx plus c. So A is an understood 1. And so when we call it the AC method, it's because literally A is being multiplied by C. You good with that, Jesus? Okay. So 1 times negative 36, which is negative 36. I need factors of A times C that add to something. I'm going to pause and let you write that down and then we're going to discuss. You got all that down, right, Jaquan?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's what I like to hear. So remember, 6 and negative 6, those were the factors of the A times C, right?
Yes.
So what did those need to add up to be?
0.
0 in this one case, but in general, not A,
C.
not C,
B.
it's B, right?
Mm.
0x, that's bx. So the factors of A times C have to add up to
B.
B.
Mm.
So we need factors of A times C that add to B in standard form. And so we split that middle term, that B, up into, any guesses? Which were the factors. But we need 6x and negative 6x. That's what we're doing here. So plus 6x, minus 6x, minus 36. Now, the order in that middle does not matter. It'll work out either way. But we need to recognize, right, that we split that middle term up into those two factors. Yes, sir?
B. Right there.
For this particular problem, we're going to look at another one in a second where that's not necessarily true. That's a good question. But think about it this way. If you have the number 15, what are the only real factors of 15? 5 and 3, or 1 and 15. Those will never be the same. Does that make sense? Okay. Good question though. Okay, so here's the one step that we have to add on. Hey, Yanni, over here. Chloe, Okay, this is the one step we have to add on that we don't actually see in this distribution. Remember how I said we're going to factor by grouping. You want to group your first two terms together. Any guesses what else you're going to group together? The last two terms together. we're going to find the greatest common factor for just those two terms. Remember, x squared literally means x times x. Those are factors. 6x means 6 times x. KT, you good with that detail?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if x squared is x times x,
Mhm.
and 6x is 6 times x, what factor do they have in common?
X. Oh,
So, yeah. So I'm going to factor out that x. So I'm going to factor that x out, multiply by. So David, if I factor out one of those x's, what am I left with right here? Just one of the x's. Jesus, your turn, buddy. If I factor out that x from 6x, what am I left with? 6? Maybe?
probably.
Thumbs up if you agree. Yes, yes. Hakeem, not sure? Not sure? No? Chloe? Yes, no, maybe so?
I really took it right now.
KT's just been writing it down. Can't do that, we gotta be thinking.
I'm sure.
You're sure? Okay, let me ask you all this question, right? We just factored out x. Hey Liam, what's x times x? Oh, is that x squared right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, what's x times 6? That 6x you just had, right? So that's how you check yourself, right? You just distribute it back and check yourself to make sure it's there.
Who did the area mark?
You can to factor, you can. That's actually not a bad idea. You can definitely do that. Your choice. I'll show it to you in a second. It's your choice. As I said, I'll show you in a second. Okay, so I'll show you the area model in a second because y'all are asking for that. But let's look right here. Negative 6x minus 36. Does anyone know what factor both of those have in common?
6.
They do have a 6, but they both also have a negative, so negative 6. Okay? And Mackenzie, if I factor out the negative 6 from negative 6x, what am I left with? If I factor the negative 6 out of negative 36, what am I left with? Thumbs up if you agree. A couple of us. Does anyone want to push back on it? This 6?
Yeah, what you
It'll
did.
It'll be 6.
Oh, a negative times a negative would be a positive, so this needs to be a... Does that answer your question, Mackenzie? You guess? So remember the idea of factoring, right, is to factor it out. You can almost think of it as division, right, as you're doing the actual factoring. Because if I were to distribute it back in, it's multiplying. So we're undoing that. So if I take negative 36 divided by negative 6, what am I left with? A positive 6. And you can check it, remember, by distributing it back out. Negative 6 times x, negative 6 times 6. Now I want you to look right here. Is there anything that those two terms have in common as a common factor? Oh, they both have an x plus 6? So what can I do with those common factors? Well, it's not really put them together. They're already common factors, so I factor them out. I factor them out. And so if I factor out my x plus 6, what's left here with this first term? Well, just the first term. Just an x. Right? I would just be left with that x. If I factor the x plus 6 out of here, what am I left with? Well, or minus 6. That's the process for factoring. That is a process. Now, Jesus, you're asking about the area model? So remember, with the area model, what we have this time around is we actually have the middle, we don't have the outsides, right? So we have the x squared. We have the negative 36. So I'm still actually going to have to use the AC method. So it's 1 times x squared and negative 36. I need factors of negative 36 that add up to be the 0. So it'd still be 6x and negative 6x. Right? That's what added up to be 0? So as I said, you can do this. And so this would be x and minus 6, and this would be x and plus 6. Same exact answer. It's your choice. That one does work out well. Notice it is the same AC method, I just went through it quicker. A times C is negative 36, boom. Factors that add up to be the middle term, 6x and negative 6x. And so I just use that, right? So I know x and x, negative 6 times x is my negative 6x. X times that 6 is that 6x. And so it's just backing it up. It's literally the same thing, it's just using the area model. So, can you use the area model? 100%. You good with that, Kadeja? Now, you don't want to. Do you have to? No. You just need to be able to factor. Now, once again, what can we use to help check to make sure our factors are correct? Don't just say plug in the calculator. What are you going to do on the calculator? No, you're not going to insert it into the calculator. What are you going to do on that calculator? Starts with a G. Graph that function to find those roots. Okay. So, we're going to go through this one a little bit quicker. This is activity 5.1. I'm just going to briefly touch on this. Jaquan, come on. You can wake up. We're almost done, buddy. You got to give me 2 more minutes. So, the reason I show this is Preston was asking earlier, right? Will they always be the same? Well, first off, I want to point this out. You see how they added 3 right here? It was x squared minus 4x equals negative 3. Why did they add 3 first? Right. We want that 0 for the 0 product property. We want that. Now, we have the x squared minus 4x plus 3 equal to 0. So remember, I need factors of, what's 1 times 3? 3. I need factors of that 3 that would add up to be a negative 4. I mean, what are the only factors of 3? 1 and 3. But for them to be negative 4x, it has to be a negative 1 and a, would that give me the negative 4x in the middle? Negative 1 minus 3? Negative 4? Yeah, guys. Negative 1 times negative 3? 3. So we'll pick back up there tomorrow. Sorry, it is a little bit later than I meant. We'll pick back up with that factored form and other ideas. So, there are a couple of things up here that are past due if you still want to submit them. The old graphic organizer, obviously. I need your next virtual day assignment resubmission is tomorrow. You can do this forms on that graphic organizer. Come on, Daquan. And I need your literacy for all if you have not already handed it to me. You can email me your literacy for all if you want, but I still need your annotations in the outline. Okay? Jaquan, get your butt inside that door. That bell hasn't rung yet. Why? That's weird. Alright, go ahead and get out of here. You are right. There, no, it's not. You lying to me, son. Get out of here.
He gonna say you are right.
Well, it hasn't rung yet. I'm like, it's past 11:05. Alright, literacy for all. If you have it, I need it.
Awesome, Mr. Kenny. I know I did not do the outline, but that's mostly because my thought process is my outline